Hey guys, I just wanted to reach out to you today and start talking a little bit about some of the strategies that we're going to work on. And you know, the biggest thing that I see in identifying strategies on how you're going to make life get better, being an entrepreneur and in business and being men, we get raised with the mentality of times that we need to deal with so many things, and most of them are things that are not within us. Or we're dealing with developing a good work ethic. We're dealing with developing being strong young men, developing our testimony in Christ, developing so many things that as you go along the way, things just start to happen. You get to a point in life and you become successful. You've built through some businesses. You've maybe failed at putting together your first business and you've gone into your second business. Maybe you've successfully built your first business and you're still in it. But as you go along the way, things start to get messed up. I remember back in 2000, in that time frame, when I got into an accident and I'd hurt my occipital condyle. It's, you know, the hardest bone in your body and your skull. And you know, I remember coming to a near-death experience to where at a point my heart had quit beating for a period of minutes. And finding that out later was an interesting cause of action, to call to action for me. You know, and how I looked at things and how I was going to deal with now inner things inside me. You know, as the doctors are telling me that some things are going to change in my life, and I'm worried that I'm laying in bed that, gosh, am I going to paralysis? Am I not going to move? Am I going to lose vision? Am I going to lose movement? Am I going to lose many different things? And you know, outlook on things are very important. How we deal with things. You know, I remember the doctor coming into the ICU with a very grim look on his face and wondering, how am I going to deal with this? And he tells me, Greg, your horrible news is that on top of having to learn who you are and walking and communicating and dealing with life again, your permanent loss is probably going to be no taste and no smell. Well, my response to that on my outlook was, I guess I'll have no dirty diapers or bad cooking ever again. And so my outlook, as they kind of giggled at that, was interesting. But I remember going through therapy and what the world expected us to do, expected me to do. Going through this and telling me that, Greg, it's going to take 3 years for you to heal. It's going to take a year to a year and a half before you're going to get back to work. And how am I going to support my family? How am I going to do that? So it's interesting dealing with the internal things inside of me and hearing what the outside world is telling me. We're two very different things. You know, I remember dealing with, you know, an occupational therapist, and you know, I'm very, you know, grateful for those people in my lives. But the outlook on that, the expectation was Greg, you need to accept how things are going to change in your life and how things are going to be different. And you know, it got to a point to where I wasn't doing what they wanted me to do. You know, for example, the outlook on how I was going to develop my daily routine, on categorizing things, and how was now I going to go shopping, and how was I going to mow the yard, and how was I going to get a birthday cake, and how was I going to buy flowers for my wife, and all these different routines that they had thought. They wanted me just to go by what the world had told us, and that I was going to have to just find their path. My outlook on life and how I got things done were very different. You know, they wanted me to drive here and go there and call on this person and do that and ask for help and do this. And you know, I figured out at that point that I could really just do it myself and find a way to be able to get the yard mowed and get the birthday cake and get the flowers and get the car filled up with gas. And it wasn't the way that they expected me to do it, nor was the way they wanted me to do it, but the outlook that they had was much different than what I had. But my way was more successful in the end than what they expected. The challenge is that somebody with my injury at the time could not have thought that way and wasn't expected to think that way. So I was being very different. They asked me to go start reading again, and they had given me literally Dick and Jane books and See Spot Run. And when I got home from the hospital, my first book I read was Think and Grow Rich. And my next book in therapy I had read was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And my therapist said, that's not realistic. You're not going to be able to even understand that. So go home and write a report to prove to us that you understand how this works. So I did. I went home and did that, and I came back to that. And I was dealing with the inside things as well as how am I going to continue to be a father. I didn't even know my kids' name for a period of time. I wasn't sure of my wife's name at the time. I wasn't sure where I was. But as I started doing what worked for me, dealing with the inside first, and getting that healed, really coming back to learning my kids' names or how to start the mower or how to turn the stove on or what a fork was, that was easy. But the world was telling me to deal with all the outside things first. Guys, I got to tell you that process of dealing with the inside and being really honest of where I was and looking in the mirror and going, listen, if it is to be, it's up to me. God is at the head of my life, and He's leading me down a path, and He's giving me all the tools to do that. But I have to want to do that, and I have to want to accept the path that I'm on. I find out being an entrepreneur, being self-employed, and being in business, that to look within inside of us and dealing with those things first with our failures seem to be the most challenging thing to do. But we look in the mirror every morning. We look in the mirror every night, and we know what's stopping us from succeeding in our business, what's stopping us from succeeding in our marriage, from being a father. Guys, you've got to look inside. You can be in the world and not of the world at the same time. You see, the world wants you to be something else. They want you to be what they want you to be. They want you to conform to what works for them. But as I went on that journey, and we'll share more later, the therapists at the end of the day were so doubtful and yet surprised and pleased with my progression that they had made me take these intelligent tests, IQ tests, to prove to me that I was just having luck. Well, I went and took the IQ test, and I had scored higher than what I did prior to my injury. So they put me through a few other tests and wanted to see if I would do things their way. But again, I didn't conform to the pattern and the path that they had designed because it was in a book, or because it was a statistic, or because that's what the average person had done. Well, the average person hadn't been clinically dead for almost 9 minutes and survived. The average person hadn't come to therapy and decided that I wasn't going to take a year and a half to get back to work and 3 years to heal. Well, through God and His grace and His leading and my willingness to listen and to do some very, very hard things, 9 months later I was back at work. And not just at work, I was looking at opening a company and being self-employed and being an entrepreneur and getting into sharing the things in my life that had affected me in so many ways. Guys, the biggest thing in this journey is we're looking at developing a coaching program. And not just a coach, but mentor. Guys, people need coaches, and you need a mentor. You need somebody, something to look towards that can say, I'm stuck. The match that I have is burned out. I have no more wood to light the fire. But I wake up every morning, and I go to work every morning, and I go home to work, home to work, home to work, home to work, and I'm too busy making a living instead of making a life. Guys, we're going to show you how to make a life. Because if you can make a life, a living will come with that. Having having your family in your life and having God in your life is huge. You see, I was watching some videos a day or two ago, and I've been reading some books along the way, and I've learned from my own experience from being in ministry and helping other people that so many of us like to blame everything we do on Satan. Everything we do wrong is his fault. Well, there's value in that, and there's merit in that, but guys, I tell you, along the way, sometimes things are just our fault. We just made a mistake. And because we've abused the ability to blame that mistake on somebody else, this is God's fault because he didn't provide this for me, or Satan's in my life and he's making me do these things. Along the way, we've missed what's in the mirror. We've missed us. And because we're not willing to take accountability that we just woke up and did something stupid. We made a completely idiotic mistake, careless, and we did it. Alone, we made those mistakes. Along the way of healing, I made a lot of mistakes. But every mistake I made, I learned from. Some of the mistakes were needed to learn, and some of them were just stupid because I didn't want to listen to the promptings of what I should have done. So you know what, guys? As we wrap this up today, I want you to go ahead and really take this time and find a quiet space. Go into another room, go into a closet, go into your car, go out in the woods, find a boat, something. But get some time to yourself and find that clarity. And then we challenge you to be one of our 12 to start this journey. You need a group of men at various levels, whether it be the income level you're struggling with, whether it be a career path, whether it be a personal struggle. Those internal buckets need to be balanced, emptied, refilled, and changed. Guys, as we go through our 6 strategies to help you, we're going to, now as we put together our series, we're going to be personalizing for each individual or couple that comes forward into our academy. For a 100-day challenge, for an investment, we're going to give you the basics, but we're going to personalize each step that you folks need to be on. If it's one person that comes forward, or a couple, during that 100-day challenge, you're going to have an opportunity to come to Kalamazoo and come for a couple days to go through what's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. We're going to speak from the heart. We're going to be very straightforward. We're not going to sugarcoat it. Because as men, we don't need things sugarcoated. God can be very honest to us and always is. And those things that we're told aren't always the easiest thing to hear. I want you to look at change as a good thing. People like change. People have a passion and a hunger for change. The world tells you that change is hard. It's not. The world tells you change isn't liked. That's wrong. Guys, you simply change every day. You change your clothes. You change your paint on the wall. You change your car. You change your habits. You change the food you eat. You change the things you do. Change is a good thing that we really strive for and hunger for if we understand why it's needed. So I want you to look on the horizon. As you look to join our team, follow us along. It's going to be exciting. You're going to be the beginning of a journey. And it's going to be a change that's going to affect you your whole life. We look to be hearing from you soon. It's going to be a good thing. And at some point, remember, all of us are on a surfboard. We are. All of us are treading water, and we feel like we're alone. But we're not. Because if I can, you can, and know that the waves are coming regardless. Are you going to change with the waves, or are you going to sink? Guys, we'll see you soon.